Good morning. I think we can start. Members, we have 3 items on the agenda. In fact, the items appeared on the agenda of the last meeting, but we were not able to discuss the items. May I remind members that if they have direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to any matter being discussed, they should, before they speak, disclose the nature of their interest. And may I also draw members' attention to the voting requirements under ROP 84. So item 1 on the agenda, PWSC 2014-15 52. This is a paper on the Capital Works Reserve Fund, head 701 to 711. And this paper proposes that members should approve a total allocation of 12204.7 million for 2015-16 for the block allocations under the Capital Works Reserve Fund. Members are also invited to increase the approved allocation for subhead 4100DX under head 704 for 2014-15 by 47.5 million from 315 million to 362.5 million, and to increase the approved allocation for subhead 9100WX under head 709 for 2014-15 by $60 million. Concerning these proposals, on 25th of November last year, the development panel, or rather the Development Bureau, consulted the Development Panel, and the OGO on the 10th of November last year consulted the ITB Panel on Head 710 computerization. The Transport and Housing Bureau on the 25th of November last year consulted the Transport Panel in relation to subhead 6101TX Universal Accessibility under head 706. The 3 panels expressed support, and they agreed that the proposals should come before the PWSC. And for the deliberations of the panels, a summary has already been tabled for members' reference. Now, we have a number of public officers, controlling officers, or their representatives attending today's meeting, but I will not be introducing them to members one by one. And is it that the administration is going to take us through the paper? Yes, Ms. Choi. Thank you. This paper is on the total allocation of 12204.7 million for 2015-16 for the block allocation under the Capital Works Reserve Fund. And then for the 2014-2015 approved allocation, we are proposing that there should be increases for subhead 4100DX and 9100WX. We need to carry out water works, drainage works, stabilized slopes, and we also need to carry out minor works for universities, and we also need to carry out advanced works for various items. And then there are about 9,000 items in 2015-2016. In order to save time at the beginning of a financial year, we apply for block allocation, and we also need to get delegation of authority by the Finance Committee. And so before the 1st of April this year, we need to have the approval of the Finance Committee with regard to the block allocation for 2015-16. If we can't get the allocation before 1st of April this year, then we'll have to stop the 7,000 odd items in progress, and we won't be able to start the 1,000 odd programs in the coming year. So we have the officials here to answer members' questions, and we hope that all these proposals can go to the Finance Committee on the 27th of February. All right, on the 3rd of February, last Tuesday, Mr. KK Kwok, Mr. Wu Chi-wai, and Mr. Gary Fan wrote letters to me, and the Secretariat on the same day referred or forwarded to members. So these are papers 90/01, 90/02, and 91/01. And so members can raise the questions contained in these letters, and I'll invite the administration to respond. In fact, last night, the administration provided responses to the letters. The responses, in fact, were issued to members, and they have also been tabled before members. Albert Chan, Wong Kwok Heng. Mr. Albert Chan. Chairman, thank you. As the Bureau has pointed out, many programs and projects are contained in this paper. Now, concerning the Express Rail Link, in fact, I strongly opposed the construction of the XRL. And if I am asked to approve this paper, then I will be forced to support projects that I strongly opposed to in the past. And I think this is really a difficult situation for me, because for some of the projects in the paper, I supported them. Some of them I opposed. Now, for example, we are unhappy with the resumption and compensation arrangements, which are most reasonable. And then, for the West Rail development, over 10 years ago, there was acquisition of an industrial building, but over a decade has lapsed, and still some factory operators haven't got their compensation. So I am worried, because in supporting this paper, I will be forced to support projects that I opposed in the past. Concerning the industrial building acquired and demolished to make way for the construction of the West Rail, the compensation for the factory operators has not been resolved yet. In countries like Australia, acquisition of land is dealt with by statutory arbitration and mediation arrangements. Hong Kong claims that it is a center of mediation. Tenancy disputes and other disputes can be resolved by mediation. But then the government makes use of its powers and privileges under the Land Resumption Ordinance to oppress small landlords. Do you know that one of the factory operators in that industrial building committed suicide? And some of the factory operators in fact their whole families have been suffering. they used to belong to the middle class, but now they are on CSSA, and many of them are suffering from mental illnesses and unrest. There are many projects contained in this paper. I supported most of them, but then for some of them I really have very strong objections against them. So I hope that there will be some response from the administration. All right, who would like to respond to Mr. Albert Chan's question? Mr. Chow. I believe Mr. Albert Chan was referring to a case involving statutory compensation and not ex gratia compensation and arrangements. I just want to say that if Mr. Albert Chan has any suggestions, the administration is willing to consider them. Now, concerning Head 701 land acquisition, I don't know whether this is also one of the cases under statutory compensation. I just want to say that the factory operators have been suffering. I'm concerned about land acquisition problems. The factory owners and other landlords, in fact, I think suffer under land acquisition arrangements.
Next, Wong Kwok Heng and then Gary Fan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I speak in support of this funding request. This is because it involves 22 government departments and 9,000 projects. As the administration has said, 7,000 of them are ongoing. 1,000 are so-called new items. All of them are minor in nature. According to my experience with the Legislative Council, I've been here for 11 years. Every year for such minor projects, we have been using this channel to approve the projects upon request from the administration. And for each and every project, we are told about the authority of the government department involved, and the relevant electrical panel has been consulted. Just now we have been told that the relevant electrical panels have had discussion and they have supported the items. So at this stage, if we are to prevent its endorsement, then it cannot go to the Finance Committee. In other words, 7,000 minor works. Some of them are underway, some of them are in process, and all of them have to be suspended. I appeal to members to support this item. Well, in fact, for this financial year, we haven't approved a single new major project. What we have been handling are all those carried over from the previous session. So for the 9,000 items here, if we can't approve the funding, I'm sure there will be a very significant and serious impact on our livelihood. So once again, if I may ask Ms. Choi, is it possible for you to tell us that in the event of the approval being denied, so that it cannot go to the FC, and we are not able to, and you are not able to get the funding within this financial year, there isn't much time left within the current financial year. Please tell us about the impact. Ms. Choi, PAS for Financial Services and the Treasury. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As has been pointed out, there are 7,000 ongoing items. if we are not able to get the approval before the commencement of the next financial year, all such items have to be suspended. There are another 1,000 new ones for the new financial, and again they cannot be started. 7,000 are ongoing items. Does it mean that they are already underway? Tenders have been awarded. As a result of the lack of approval, you cannot implement the projects, you cannot honor the contracts. What will happen? Ms. Choi. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They are ongoing items. There are many of them. They may be at different stages of the work. The impact will be huge, both on the community and on the government's liability in terms of awarding the contracts. So I want to know whether it will be a matter of the government breaching the contract and we have to pay compensation, we have to re-award the tender, and there will be an increase in the cost other than the impact on our livelihood. Ms. Choi, it depends on the terms and conditions of individual contracts. I believe that this is possible. I hope members will understand that for the minor projects, they are at such a stage of construction or implementation. And please look at the crux of the matter. Next, Gary Fan and then KK Kwok. Mr. Chairman, I would like to explain why on the 3rd of February I wrote a letter to you and I expect an answer from the administration. What I stated in my letter is that 4 items should be voted on separately for subhead 1100CA of head 701. In fact, previously, I made a similar request. That is, the Saint landfill at Chang Kwan O should be voted on separately. At that time, Dr. Low Wai Kwok, the then chair of the PWSC, refused to agree with me. I think his ruling was unfair. Today, I would like to take out 4 items for separate voting. This is mainly because for the past year, we have seen a lot of overspending in many major projects of infrastructure. It seems that the administration is being very indiscriminate in overspending. At the same time, the administration has been unfair on livelihood projects like the fisheries fund. So I think we should be closely monitoring such projects, in particular the express rail. The administration started the project hastily without even a risk assessment. Now we are still unable to settle on the question of having a co-location of immigration facilities, and yet Choi Yun Chun, the Choi Yun village, was demolished hastily. I think they have got the same compensation only. That is, they have only got a one-off ex gratia payment from the STH. Now, for the Choi Yun village, some basic facilities for the research village are still lacking. The villagers are exhausted. They have given up their original homes to move into the metal sheds. The village has been relocated, but I don't think the government has been very active in helping the villagers. In fact, the government has been shifting the blame to the villagers in relation to the relocation or reprovisioning of the village. So I hope that you can help the villagers to reestablish the village speedily. Now, for the ex gratia payment, well, it is said that before the end of year 2014, 2 hectares of land should be resumed to set up a community farm. So that the villagers can keep on farming. The administration has been deferring it, so the idea of having a community farm has been dropped without notice. I think the administration should reinstate the land. The more land should be resumed, reinstated so that the land can be used for community farming. I think it is a way of compensating for the loss of agricultural land. For the fourth item, there is the Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge, Hong Kong Link Road. I think there will be a delay, and yet the environmental impacts, according to information from the government, well, Chinese white dolphins have seen a drastic decrease in terms of the number, as much as 90%. We have dredging, we have a lot of works vessels, and I'm afraid that the environmental damage is huge. And therefore, fishermen are having a smaller catch. When the project cannot be completed in time, it means that the fishermen will continue to suffer. The fishing grounds will be lost permanently, and yet the fishermen are only getting 40% of the standard compensation, saying that it is only temporary in nature. But I don't think it is adequate to compensate for the loss. I think the ceiling should be enhanced. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, for the PWSC today, if we are to take out the 4 infrastructural projects for voting separately, I think this will be the first time since 1973, including the former Legislative Council. I think this way we are able to deal with each project in great details, and then we can sort of defend ourselves against administrative hegemony. 1983. Since 1983, who from the administration's team would like to address the issues? Mr. Thomas Chong. 4 items have been named. For the dedicated compensation, it was given approval by the FC. For the others, they are the general sort of compensation, and we have been adhering to the FC's rulings and decisions. For the express rail, we have been following the usual requirements. For the statutory compensation, well, unlike the ex gratia payment, the ex gratia payment is a matter for the Lands Department, while the other one is for the Lands Tribunal. Which department would like to supplement the fishermen's subsidies? Lands Department, Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may say that for Head 701, we are asking for money so as to meet the land acquisition costs, including the ex gratia allowances. In fact, the FC has already approved the criteria, the eligibility, so it isn't about meeting the project cost itself. Next, Dr. K.K. Kwok and then Mr. Wu Chi-Wai. Mr. Chairman, first of all, regarding the CWRF, in most cases, they have our support and our agreement. Mr. Chairman, I have tried to ask for 3 of them to be taken out. I hope that the government will spare the villagers whose homes have been snatched from them. 2 of them are related to Liantang, Hengyun Wai boundary control point. You know that many villages are involved, in particular Chuk Yuen South Village and also Lin Ma Hang. Chuk Yuen South Village has been defined as an indigenous village, and therefore they have got adequate and sufficient compensation. I think the other way, Lin Ma Hang has been regarded as an indigenous village. So, but then on the other hand, Chuk Yuen South is not. So the difference is huge. Either they have $500,000 or $600,000 in priority in going to the HOS. Can we get a HOS flat? So it is just a laughing stock. Well, for the administration, I think the administration has a lot of money, and yet the government is not going to show any mercy to the villages. We're spending so much on one single project, and yet for the indigenous villages, they only get a few $100,000, and yet the entire village will be eradicated. For the so-called Choi Yun New Village, there are rural leaders, local bullies who are asking for a fee to allow them to have access, and the government is turning a blind eye to it. For Chuk Yun South Village, well, in some lucky cases, some rural leaders are able to guarantee that there will be land for their reprovisioning. For others, they're not so lucky. I hope members won't be so simple-minded and just say yes to the request.
And I think it's just reasonable to give them ex gratia payment. The government keeps saying that its policies are people-based, and people will be given assistance so that they can resume farming. But in fact, the administration just wants to have its proposals passed. It doesn't really care about the well-being of the people. There are many items in this paper. The affected villages are like hostages. So I think I can approve most of the items, but then I have reservations about a few items which will lead to the wiping out of certain villages. Mr. Chow, yes, thank you. Concerning Chuk Yun Chun, Chairman, there are both indigenous residents and non-indigenous residents. Now, please don't waste my time. I'm concerned about non-indigenous residents. You said that there were only non-indigenous residents, but in fact, there are both indigenous and non-indigenous residents. Can I please finish my reply? In fact, in the development panel concerning we said that there would be some proposals for non-indigenous residents, and in fact, the proposal was implemented. In fact, when we went to the development panel, the chairman of the committee on the removal of Chuk Yun village said that, in fact, wrote to Mr. Patrick Lau, chairman of the panel, and in fact, officials have also received the letter. In fact, in the letter, the chairman said that they were grateful to government officials for their assistance concerning the provision of roads and so on and so forth. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wu Chi-wai, and then Mr. Fernando Zhang. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you. In fact, I merely want to ask some technical questions. Concerning the compensation arrangements. Now, in many cases, the land has been resumed, but then the compensation arrangements have not been completed. And I want to know why this has been the case. Now, the land has already been resumed. The landlord hasn't got got the compensation, and so I want to know whether the affected landlords will be compensated for loss of income, for example, interest payment. I think it's important that we take care of the interests of the affected landlords. Yes, can we have this from the Lands Department, please? Yes, thank you, Chairman. Concerning land compensation, we will pay the affected landlords interest starting from the day the land was resumed up to the time when the payment was made. Yes, Chairman, I want to follow up. I want to know about the detailed arrangements concerning the paying out of compensation. Yes, Chief Estate Surveyor, please. The calculations are based on the criteria stipulated in the Land Resumption Ordinance. The calculations are based on the market value of the site. We also take into account the lease, the planning, and also the permitted uses. Concerning Liantang, Heng Yun Wai, compensation has to be provided to both indigenous and non-indigenous villages. Some members want certain items to be voted on separately because they want to have further discussion on arrangements for non-indigenous residents. I want to know whether such further discussions are still possible. Can we have further opportunities to discuss arrangements for non-indigenous residents because the present arrangements are not fair? Now, the Lands Department merely follows the instructions of the Finance Committee. So is it that there will not be further discussions on compensation arrangements for non-indigenous residents? The administration did make some promises at the time the land was resumed. For example, the villages would be reinstated. So want to know the progress. For Chuk Yun Chun, the cottage area package has already been implemented. And the affected villages are able to monitor the progress of the construction project. So we want to know what progress has been made concerning those undertakings, and I think we need the information to help us cast our vote in the Finance Committee. Thank you. Mr. Fernando Zhang. Yes, Chairman, I speak in support of the proposals of Mr. Wu Chi-wai and Mr. Gary Fan. I think the XRL and also the Liantang Heng Yun Wai items should be singled out or separated for voting. Now, every time we discuss these matters, the pro-establishment members tell us that these items must be passed as soon as possible so that people's livelihood will not be affected and so that government contracts will not be affected. I want to say that when we hold meetings, PWSC meetings, FC meetings, our purpose is not to approve the items, but rather our task is to scrutinize the items. So after careful scrutiny, we may support the items, we may vote down the items. So it is not that the LegCo's function is to approve government proposals as soon as possible. If the administration wants its proposals to get approved as soon as possible, then perhaps it should scrap the Legislative Council. So I think our members have got some misunderstanding. They seem to think that our responsibility as legislators, as FC members, is to approve government proposals as early as possible. So I think I have to set the record straight. We are unhappy with certain items. For example, the Liantang border crossing point, and also the XRL. And with regard to the Penny Bay reclamation project, I understand that the estimated amount required is about $1 billion. In fact, the project started in the year 2000, and over 200 hectares of land has to be reclaimed. And I believe this project has to do with the expansion of Disneyland. Under phase 2, there are 60 hectares of land, and the land has not been put to any use for many years. And we are asked to give the green light to further reclamation when the reclaimed land is not being used at all. And then they are saying that they also need reclamation at Sunny Bay. So concerning the 200 odd hectares of land under the Penny Bay Reclamation Project, I want to know whether the land is still lying idle under the sun without having been put to good use. Yes, Director of Territory Development. Now for this project, all the funds have already been used, and perhaps my colleague Ms. Lam can elaborate. Now for the 200 odd hectares, phase 1 is now being used by Disneyland, and for phase 2 there are about 60 hectares of land. I understand that in the long run there will be some expansion projects. What do you mean by in the long run? How many years later? I don't have the information here. Chief Estate Surveyor, any comments? Chairman, now concerning the funding being sought, I want to clarify. There is a private site and in 1995, because of the termination of certain rights in relation to access to the sea, the landlord sought compensation. In fact, the landlord approached the Lands Tribunal for a ruling, and we are now awaiting the tribunal's ruling. And so this amount is the budgeted amount for providing compensation. Why is it that they are not applying for the provision after a ruling has been handed down? Chief Estate Surveyor, this is because we don't know when the ruling will be available. And once the ruling has been handed down, the government will have to make the payment as early as possible. And so once we've received the ruling, and if we agree to the amount, then we will have to make the payment as early as possible. But this is because we're talking about a very big sum of money, $1 billion, and I'm sure the tribunal will allow the government a reasonable period of time to complete the payment procedures. So why is it that you need to seek the provision at this stage? Is it really necessary to seek the provision at this stage, at this early stage, when the ruling is still not available yet? Chief Estate Surveyor, because we don't know when the ruling will be available, Chairman. We need to await the tribunal's ruling. And if we do not seek the provision now, we won't be able to have the money to make the payment in the next financial year. I don't think my question has been answered, Chairman. I'm sure the tribunal will allow the government sufficient time to apply for funding and to make the necessary payments. I simply do not know why they are seeking the provision now. Mr. Leong Kwok Hong. Chairman, thank you. I think the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Chow, is really smart and marvelous. I think he is suggesting that, it seems that he's suggesting that we should act like rubber stamps. C.Y. Leung said that the members of the public should identify who always blocking funding applications, and officials were not allowed to go to certain banquets. Now, so one of your staff members, Pan, beat some people up. Do you know him? He's your staff. And I want you to be held accountable. And did you hand him over to the police? Did you discipline him? Were there internal disciplinary proceedings? And did you make sure that he will not be meeting members of the public?
You are so smart. Please comment on it. Mr. Leung, are you saying that it's irrelevant? Since you've raised the question, will Mr. Chow give a simple answer? Do you know this person? The relevant matter has been studied, has been referred to the police. I don't want to have any comment. Have you asked him not to come into contact with the citizens since he's a martial master? I don't think you should let him work even though you're paying him. I think he's a town planner. So is he planning the force and speed when a person falls? Have you recruited him so as to plan such things? My simple question is, have you stopped him from coming into contact with the public? Have you stopped him from attending such meetings? Have you made such an order? Mr. Leung, why don't we come back to PWSC 2014-15-52? He should be held accountable. He asked about previous decisions of the FC. Has it got anything to do with me? So he talked about the past. So I would also like to talk about something in the past. Mr. Chow, the PS, would you like to give a further reply? No. So it means that you haven't asked him. So what sort of an official are you? Well, for the village in Autan May, it is an excellent example. It was the land was resumed for the sake of the express rail link. Now the water quality has changed. All the fish have died. I tried to get compensation from the government, and then even for the fish kept before Donald Tsang, they have all died, and it will cost $8 million. Now you say that it's got nothing to do with the XRL, but I think you have to be held accountable. Have you ever gone to Autan May village, or were you not as senior as you are now? So it is not unjustifiable to say that we're worried. Have you visited that place? Have you ever received any calls from Donald Tsang about his fish? Are you directing the question at the PS? Have you heard about the worsening of the water quality at Autan May? Was there any compensation? you don't have the money, so do you want to get the money today? You are an official, also an official. You can't do a proper job about water quality, about your staff management, about the fish. So you are just asking us to deal with the remedial work. KK Kwok has indicated his wish to ask a question again. Now, Mr. Gary Fan has just told us that in accordance with 33A of the PWSC procedures, he would like to move a motion. KK Kwok and then Gary Fan. KK Kwok, please. Just now, the PS has told us that for the compensation, the FC has already given approval, so there's no room to have other discussion. If I may clarify the situation, obviously, this is a policy that is unfair to the citizens. Yes, previously at a FC meeting it was endorsed, but we can all see that there is some development, and then the situation may not be the same as mentioned by the PS. Even within the same village, there are different treatments. Some people may have good connections and they get better treatment, but I don't think this is an act of the government. Sometimes you need the rural people to help you. So let me clarify this point. Please don't think that the administration has done its best. Now we have got some elderly people whose village has been wiped out and the matter hasn't been settled. Now later on, for the Northeast NT development, including Yunnan South and Hong Shui Kiu, a lot of indigenous villages will have to be uprooted and the villages will be wiped out. So if we don't ask for a clear understanding of the relevant policies and review the land resumption policy, we are not being fair to the citizens. For the pro-establishment camp, now you have to be clear as to whether you are helping the administration to pass resolutions or to endorse policies that will bully the citizens. Maybe some people are so used to becoming a rubber stamp, they feel uneasy if they aren't one. But please do some soul searching. Please look at the case, the miserable case of the indigenous villages. I want to know whether anything decided by the FC in the past can no longer be open to review now. If you are saying this, then it is very serious. It means that nothing should be discussed again. Once the FC has made a decision, does it mean that we can never reopen the debate? As shown on the screen, Mr. Gary Fan is going to move a motion under Rule 32A. I've considered the motion, and I believe that this motion is directly related to the item before us. So, Dr. Kwok, would you consider the following? That is, we support Mr. Gary Fan's request to move a motion under 32A, and then views will be expressed, and then if we are to endorse the resolution, then the views will be forwarded to the FC. So please consider this. Now I want to consult the views of members. For the motion moved under 32A, I would like to put it to the vote. Now this is to deal with Mr. Gary Fan's motion moved under 32A in accordance with the PWSC procedure. Sorry, Mr. Chen Kam Lam, I can't hear you. Please switch on his mic. Please try. Okay. Yes. I think we should allow members wishing to ask questions for the first time to speak first. Just now we didn't have your name, so first of all, Mr. Chen Kem Lam. Mr. Chairman, for what Mr. Kiki Kwok has said, I think this is the greatest disrespect towards other members at the meeting. You haven't stopped him. This is most unfair to the other members. Why is it that he's saying that for anybody in support of previous FC decisions are brainless? I don't think we should have any personal attacks. We shouldn't label others as being brainless. If we don't have mutual respect, if we don't have respect here, then a member who is doing this is brainless. Well, at FC meetings, PWSC meetings, ESC meetings, and other panel meetings, we are all exercising our role in monitoring the performance of the administration. For each funding request, for each project, we have the duty to strike a balance among the various interests in the society, and we try to scrutinize the projects in great details. You may resort to different ways to be hair-splitting in finding faults. You can ask questions, you can demand detailed answers from the administration. When you are satisfied, then you may raise your hand to say yes or no to the question, so that either it is endorsed, or it is vetoed, or it is suspended. I don't mind this at all. But if you deliberately resort to certain acts so that the matter is being dragged all the time, so that we can't vote on the matter, then I would say that this is a deliberate act of filibustering. In this way, some projects cannot be started, then there will be delays, and even worse, the project cost will be increased. And we, the legislature, should be held accountable and responsible. The community don't want to see any deliberate delay of the procedures so that we can't vote on a matter. I think we need to be practical and pragmatic when we handle all the items. In the past, in the case of Choi Yun Village, or in other cases, in relation to land resumption and compensation, yes, some people may still be unhappy, dissatisfied, but we still have to consider how we use the public money. Whenever somebody suffers from a loss, he or she would like to get the highest rate of compensation. But I don't think it should be to our liking. I don't think we should discriminate one against another. So I would like to appeal to lawmakers to be reasonable and pragmatic. In this legislature, we should have mutual respect, even though we may have different political views. We shouldn't be criticizing others, attacking others. I won't resort to this. I respect the right of lawmakers to put forward different views, whether they are clever thoughts or silly ideas. So at the end of the day, it's a matter of show of hands, and we need to respect the result. For the first round, we have Mr. Christopher Chung as well. You don't get anything nice from certain people who just don't have that ability. There are people who don't have the ability to do things substantive, and they will only resort to ironic remarks. Mr. Leung, if you would like to say that I was referring to you, it's up to you. Out of a sudden, Gary Fan is showing concern towards the fishermen, but then it is a sugar-coated pill. In 1993, when we have the infrastructural projects, we started to have a compensation scheme for marine works. Of course, there's room for improvement, but I don't think you should rely on this excuse to take out the projects. Well, please don't stand in the way and prevent fishermen from collecting their compensation. Now, there are 4 items that members would like to take out, and they have all to do with connection between Hong Kong and the mainland. It shows that there is hostility towards the mainland. There is a negative view about the connections with the mainland. So they are trying to drag their feet, and then the cost will just escalate.
You're now suggesting that these items should be taken out. I think what you're doing will harm Hong Kong. Tell us what you don't like about these projects. Tell us what's wrong with these projects. You can't say anything or you can't give any concrete reasons. In my view, these projects should commence as early as possible for the benefit of Hong Kong. Chairman, I hope that you can discharge your duties as the chairman for these projects. You should try to make sure that they can be discussed and passed as early as possible. Does any other member wish to speak on this? So, the matter before us now is the motion moved by Mr. Gary Fan under 32A of the Public Works Subcommittee procedure. And let's now vote on whether we should deal with this motion. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Tam Yu Chung, I want to claim a division. So the bell will ring for 5 minutes. Want to remind members, especially those who've just come in, that on the screen you can see Mr. Gary Fan's motion moved under 32A of the PWSC procedure, and we are now discussing and voting on whether this motion should be dealt with. So in about 20 seconds time, we will have to vote on this item.
All
right, let's proceed to vote.
好啦，喺我宣布表決
Right before I announce the results, members please check your votes. Voting is closed. The results are displayed. 16 yes, 11 no. So the proposal is approved. So in other words, we'll now proceed to deal with Mr. Gary Fan's motion moved under 32A of the PWSC procedure, and each member can speak for 3 minutes on this motion. Mr. Gary Fan, thank you. Mr. Chen Kam Lam said that when members spoke, they should bear in mind that they should and they must respect other members. But then his fellow party member, Mr. Christopher Chong, kept criticizing and making negative comments on others. Never mind, Chairman. I think at the panel level, at the PWSC level, at the Finance Committee level, we should try to monitor the work of the administration, and we should try to improve upon or perfect unsatisfactory arrangements. And this is the objective that I have in mind, and that the Pan Democrats have in mind. And I've got these two motions under 32A. For the first one, I want the compensation arrangements to be improved in the light of the Choi Yun-chun experience. And then concerning the second motion, I am of the view that the fishermen in Hong Kong have been affected by reclamation projects, and I think government should do more to help these affected fishermen. So I'm concerned about the livelihood of affected villagers and affected fishermen. I hope that members can support the two motions moved under 32A. And if these motions are approved, Chairman, then I will not insist that the 4 items I mentioned in my letter dated the 3rd of February be taken out for voting or voted on separately. So I just want to clarify that, in fact, I'm just working for the benefit of the affected villagers and fishermen. Mr. KK Kwok, thank you. I support Mr. Gary Fan's motion. I think it's important that we bring some pressure to bear on the government so that the government will make improvements. We are now only dealing with the first motion. I really hope that the government can perfect its arrangements. Non-indigenous residents do not own land. They are in a very disadvantageous position. although they are not indigenous residents, they have been living in the village for decades. They have been farming and I think village type farming is also important for Hong Kong, and I support this motion moved without giving prior notice. LegCo understands that land has to be resumed to make way for infrastructural projects, but at the same time we have to bear in mind the interests of people who will be uprooted, whose means of livelihood will be affected. Now, it is not that these people are greedy. It is not that they only want as much compensation as possible. They want their homes back. I think it's not enough to just give them an amount of money. And I think those who do not have a brain do not like people telling them the truth that they don't have brains. I hope that members will support the motion, although they like to support the government. But of course, I understand that they may not listen to my advice. Thank you. Mr. Leung Kwo Hong. Members who are staunch supporters of C.Y. Leung and his administration, good morning. Now let me say this to you in a very gentle manner. I want to say that we're not trying to make a male become a female. We are we hope that greed can become compassion and sympathy. We hope that injustice can be replaced by justice. You know, we used to be a fishing port. We should treasure and respect our history. Yes, we are asked to love the country and to love the people, and that is why we must not forget about the fishermen. And some artifacts and heritage items were unearthed when the Sha Tin Central Link was built, and the excavation tells us more about our history. Being patriotic is not just about chanting empty slogans. If you love the country, then you have to love the people first. You know, swallows love their children. They always make sure that they can feed their children well. So if we are really patriotic, we must make sure that we love the people first. All of you who support C.Y. Leung adamantly, yes, you may want to support him, but you have to be rational. You shouldn't blindly support him. Look at what is meant by blind support. The gang of four blindly supported Chairman Mao and treated him as a god, and then Chairman Mao put the blame on others. So I think we must do our best to stop the administration from acting unfairly and unreasonably. Thank you.
Mr. Pichan, Christopher Chung just left. I think he always used to idioms wrongly. I think he was right when he said that you can't get silk out of a sow's ear. Well, I think in this chamber, many people will say that he's the target of that comment. Albert Chan, I suggested you should come back to the crux of the matter. Well, when we say that you can't get silk out of a sow's ear, we have got many lackeys for the Communist Party. In fact, there are many such people in this chamber. Now, the people power is fully behind this motion from Gary Fan for the compensation procedures, the amount, and the administrative arrangements. All of them, most of them, are very undemocratic. And I think it is time for us to look into the issue of land resumption. There are many inadequacies, and I think we should review the entire mechanism. In a moment, Gary Fan will be moving his second motion. I would like to say that he has my support in relation to the two motions. James Toh, I also support the motion. The reason is simple. This is because I understand that the government would like to draw a line, and there is a line being drawn at the status of the villages, that is whether you are indigenous or not. That was the case before because of historic reason. Nowadays, as a result of the high property prices in the urban area, many people have moved to the new territories to live. And in fact, people would build a village, they live there, and in fact, sometimes such people may live in a village for a longer period than others who have the identity, who have the status as indigenous villagers. A person is born with the status of being an indigenous villager. Now, when you demolish a village, if you only compensate those who have the status as an indigenous villager, I think this is out of step with the social development and ignoring the fact that many people have moved to the new territories to live. I'm afraid that, in the case of Northeast NT and Liantang here, I think you soon you will get more non-indigenous people being affected than indigenous villages. Now, for non-indigenous villagers, they haven't got the same protection, and they will feel that they're being discriminated against. Now, for urban clearance, say for example, rooftop structure clearance exercises, sometimes we try to draw a line in terms of the timing. Now, for indigenous villages, they may say that their ancestors have been there for a long time. Now, for non-indigenous villages, you may try to say that they only qualify if they have lived there for a long time. That is acceptable, but you can't simply say that they haven't been born from an ancestor who was an indigenous villager, and so they don't get the same compensation. I find it unreasonable to differentiate the treatment in this regard. Now, I think with the social developments that we are aware of, I think it's high time for the government to review the policy. Dr. Lu Wai-Kok, I came back late because I had to chair another meeting outside the LegCo. Now, well, we have got this wording being shown on the screen. At first, I thought we were dealing with the Lantang Hengyunwai border control point. But in fact, we weren't actually talking about that. We are in fact dealing with the block allocations. Well, we're talking about projects requiring $30 million or less, so that government departments can go ahead with various minor projects. And usually this is related to livelihood. We have the ports, airport, drainage, roads, waterworks, information systems, housing, etc. Now, if we are to follow this practice, that is, if we start to talk about the policies as indicated in this motion moved without notice, then it means that we are repeating what panels are doing. Then there won't be an end to it. Mr. Chairman, I find it odd as to why you have allowed such a motion to be discussed without notice. Now, in a broad sense, you may say that it has to do with the block allocations. But if you start chairing the PWSC meeting in this way, then I can only say that even for an item like block allocations, we'll be wasting so much time. I don't want to pass any comment. I just want to say that it is inappropriate to move motions without notice, which is more policy related. I just want to say that I strongly object to such a style of chairing PWC meeting. So it will be noted in the minutes for the record. Sorry, speaker is off mic. Mr. Richard, sorry. We have 3 minutes each. You have already spoken. Mr. Chairman, you need to clarify. You need to educate him. I'm not here to educate anybody. This isn't my job. Well, he said that you were ignorant and it is disappointing. I accept any comments from members. I'm here to chair the meeting. Now, no one else would like to indicate to speak. What about the administration? Mr. Thomas Chow. Well, I think members are clear, but I just want to bring up 2 points. For this item, I think there are 2 points here. First of all, compensation. Second, allowance. For ex gratia allowance, it is to be paid to the landowners. So whether he is an indigenous villager or not has got nothing to do with the eligibility. And in this motion, towards the end of the motion, it is said that both landowners and non-indigenous villagers will be entitled to the same compensation. I think to the government it will create a huge problem. All right, I will put the matter to the vote, and this is a motion moved under paragraph 32A. Mr. Fan, would you like to make a final reply? No need, Mr. Chairman. So for Mr. Gary Fan's motion 001 is the serial number given to the motion. He has moved the motion in accordance with paragraph 32A. I would like to put the question to you. Mr. Fan asks for a division. The bell will be rung for 5 minutes.
剛進入
For members who have just entered the chamber or the conference room, I just want to remind you that in about 30 seconds' time, we are going to vote on the following matter. That is, Mr. Gary Fan is moving a motion under paragraph 32A. Members spoke. The administration also gave a reply. We are going to vote on it. So in 15 seconds' time. Voting begins. Before I declare the results, members, please check your vote. Voting ends. The result is to be displayed. I think many members are very busy. You have other meetings, but please stay behind because very soon we are going to deal with motion 002 under paragraph 32A. Now the result is 17 yes, 12 against. I declare that the motion has been carried. In other words, the motion under 32A has been carried and it will be forwarded to the FC for consideration.
So should we deal with Mr. Gary Fan's second motion? The wording is on the screen for members' reference. And in fact, just now, some members have given comments on compensation for affected fishermen. So do members think that this subcommittee should deal with Mr. Gary Fan's motion number 002 moved under 32A of the PWSC procedure? Those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against?
Uh, 12票贊成11
12 in favor, 11 against. So the majority of members voting are in favor of dealing with Mr. Fan's motion 002. So Mr. Gary Fan, do you think you need to speak on motion 002? No, Chairman, because when I spoke on both motions. All right, Mr. Gary Fan doesn't think he need to speak on the second motion again. Does any other member wish to speak? Any response from the administration? No? So I'll now put Mr. Gary Fan's motion to the vote. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against? (16) in favor, 10 against. So the majority of the members voting are in favor of the motion. So the motion is approved. So back to paper PWSC 52. Does any other member wish to speak? No? Then I will put this matter to the vote. Those in favor of the proposal in the paper, please raise their hands. Those against? I think the majority of the members voting are in favor of the motion. So the motion is approved. I thank the officials for coming to our meeting to help us discuss this agenda item. So let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Head 704, Drainage. environmental protection, sewerage and sewage treatment. 16 ODS, Tuen Mun Sewage Stage 1, 346 DS, upgrading of Tuen Mun Sewage Phase 1. Members are invited to recommend to the Finance Committee A. The upgrading of part of 16 DS and part of 346 DS to Cat A. And this is entitled Tuen Mun Sewerage, Castle Peak Road Trunk Sewer and Tuen Mun Village Sewerage at an estimated cost of 722.5 million in MOD prices. And B, the retention of the remainders of 16 ODS and 346 DS in Cat B.
On the
28th of April last year, the EAP was consulted and the panel supported the submission of the item to PWSC. To answer members' questions, we have officials from the DSD and from the EPD. So the Director of Drainage Services, please, Mr. Daniel Chung. Thank you, Chairman. So, concerning MT, Keilun Wai, Yang Xiu Hang, Cheng Shan Chun, Cheng Tao Sheng Chun, Fuk Hang Chun Upper, and Fu Tei Ha Chun. These are unsewered areas, and sewage is treated and discharged by septic tanks and other substandard facilities. But then the treatment is not satisfactory, and the sewage will sewage flows into nearby watercourses and receiving waters of Elmston Road. And for the existing sewage network in Tuen Mun, at the moment it's provided east-west only up to So Kun Wat. So to cope with the existing and planned residential developments in Tuen Mun, the sewage infrastructure needs to be extended further eastwards to Siu Lam to collect the sewage in the area. So with the completion of the proposed sewage works, sewage collected from these areas will be conveyed to the Pillar Point sewage treatment works for proper treatment and disposal. So by that time, this environmental hygiene in the 7 villages and in the nearby areas will be greatly improved. And the water quality in the watercourses in the area will also improve. Thank you. So, Mr. Albert Ho, Mr. Leong Ho, and Mr. Albert Chan have indicated that they would like to ask questions. Mr. Albert Ho, please. Thank you, Chairman. I think these proposed improvement works are very important for Tuen Mun. In fact, Tuen Mun residents have been complaining to me about environmental pollution caused by sewage that has not been properly treated. But is it that you're not going to provide sewers connecting the villages to the central sewage system? Is that correct? So what if the villagers do not have enough money to carry out the connection works? Director. Chairman. the sewers will reach the houses in the 7 villages. But of course, for the final section of connection, and that section is very, very short, and the cost has to be borne by the house owners, but then the cost will not be high. Mr. Abbott-Ho, so do you think the house owners will do the connections, and what action will you take if they do not connect to the public sewage system? And will financial assistance be given to owners who belong to the hardship cases? Thank you. Director. Yes, let me answer the members' questions. With regard to the existing septic tanks, when the houses are connected to our sewage system, then sewage from the houses will all go into our sewers and will be treated in the sewage treatment works before discharge. And then concerning the connection works, perhaps the EPD can give a reply. Ms. Yun? Thank you, Chairman. Now, after the sewage works have been completed, the EPD will issue notices to owners in accordance with the relevant regulations requiring owners to carry out the connections. And normally, owners will be given 6 to 12 months to complete the connection works. In fact, we have had many rounds of discussions with the district council and with the villagers, and they all agree that the house owners have to be responsible for the final connections. In other words, the connections from the houses to the sewers, and the sewers will be very near to the houses, and so the situation will greatly improve in the future. But under the law, can you require the owners to do the connections? Yes. But then before the connection works, during the connection works, and after the connection works, we will keep liaising with the district council and with the villagers, and we hope that we'll not have to resort to taking action under the law to punish the house owners. Then there are many elderly house owners, and they have little knowledge about the law. So will you try to give some assistance to them? Now, we hope that all the houses, all the small houses can be connected to our sewers. So we will try our best to give assistance. I understand that if house owners have hardship, they can benefit from the loan schemes administered by the Buildings Department and other departments. So you try to give assistance to those concerned, right? Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, Chairman. Now, so why is it that you are not making it compulsory for the owners to connect to the public sewers? because this is pollution. But then I think you have to try to help the elderly owners under the mandatory window inspection scheme. I understand that you do give assistance to those who have problems meeting the cost, $2,000 or $4,000. Of course, you should try to help the elderly owners. This is such a big sewage system, so I don't think you can allow people to decide whether they want to connect to the sewers. So have you assessed the pollution at the outfall when this sewage system is completed? Director. Thank you, Chairman. We do have a comprehensive program for the collection and discharge of sewage. The Pillar Point sewage treatment works have been upgraded in terms of their capacity to treat sewage. And so the sewage discharged will have been treated properly, and so the water quality in the waters in Tuen Mun will not be affected.
Now, Tuen Mun is undergoing rapid changes. The miserable conditions in Shangshui have been replicated in Tuen Mun. Now, we used to have the worst case of parallel trading in Shangshui. Now it has moved over to Tuen Mun. Of course, I'm digressing, but I just want to say that you have to take into account that things are getting worse, and then it seems that it is having something like an anarchy under the CY Leung administration. It seems that people are flowing, the visitors are flowing indiscriminately here and there. Have you ever considered the impact of the multi-visit visas on various local areas, including their drainage and sewage works? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For our sewage system, we've been following the plans of the planning department, like demographic changes, different land uses, etc. So with a projected population, you may have been carrying out a lot of planning and projection, but then you can be no match for a single man's moves. Albert Chan. It appears to me that the government is still being very rigid. The government is turning a blind eye to the reality. Before we go to the FC, I hope the DSD can tell us the following. For the past 10 years, as far as sewerage connection is concerned, I want to know about the ratio of connection. That is, how many villages have been connected with the public sewerage system. Please give us the year of construction and when the connection was carried out. After declare interest, I also live in a rural area. I just want to say that sometimes a village will have the sewerage system just 10 10 meters from his house, while others may have a longer distance, like a few hundred meters. It may be very expensive. And yet, if you don't get connected, there will be a criminal offense resulting if you don't get connected once your area has been included into the system. Well, in fact, I think we should change the policy. The government is saying that as far as the current policy is concerned, there's no way that the government should be responsible for the final connection. Well, you spend hundreds of millions of dollars. You have been working on it for more than a decade, and yet there are households which still have not connected their own system with the government's public system. So why don't you change the criteria? Why don't you connect your system with the sewage facilities of individual households? So please give us a table showing the percentage of connection. And also, would you like to change your policy so that you are connecting with the individual households? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I can give the information after the meeting. As to the end users connection, we'll try our best. Please don't talk about the bureaucratic side of the matter. I think for individual villages, some contractors have completed the connection with the end users as well. But this is not always the case. It's just a small sum of money. Why don't you do it as well? Director, we have tried our best to be as near to the relevant houses as possible when we reserve the connection points, but then the EPD can supplement. AD, well, according to our previous experience, the connection ratio has been as much as 80% once we have built the sewerage system. Sometimes in individual cases, there is a huge height difference. You go to the villages and visit them. Don't tell us nonsense. I went there all the time. Why don't you do it as well? Well, what about the PS? Can you not change the policy slightly? Otherwise, you should just drink all the sewage emitted. Well, Mr. Chair, the Deputy Director, as far as policy is concerned, we try to build the sewers as close to domestic households as possible. But then there may be land status problems or topography problems. I think you better drink the sewage if I can tell you that it's not because of land status. We try our best to be as near as possible. It's simple. Why don't you just finish with the connection with the end users as well? Well, the EPD is also responsible for sewers for villages. As I have said, once we've completed our task, basically 80% of the households will get connected. There are a small number of houses which may not be connected, and they can still apply for permission to use septic tanks. As to whether the government will connect with the end users system, well, all along, I really have to explain our policy. We're responsible for the public sewers. As I have said, we try as much as possible to facilitate the end-user connection. Once we have put in place a public sewerage system, if it involves a connection between a private property and the public sewer, then private property is involved. Well, I think it's only right for the households to be responsible. I think you need to tell us why the individual households have not connected with the public sewers. So for the past 10 years, please tell us about the reason for failing to connect. Yes, Director of Drainage Services, please have this information as well. Now, members, please indicate to me as to how many of you would like to speak. 4 are in the queue, 5 in fact. If I give you 4 minutes each, then there will be 20 minutes, and then we can just make it, because I've been told that at 10:45 we have another meeting, and it's better if we can finish the meeting 5 minutes before 10:45 so as to prepare the venue for the following meeting. So I'll try my best to finish off with this item. So if you don't object, I would suggest that we prolong the meeting by 15 minutes, so we will be having the meeting until 10:45 and not later than that. Dr. Lowe Kwok, for this project, this is about sewerage and sewage treatment, and I fully support this. If we don't do it quickly, it means that the relevant areas do not have the sewage being effectively treated, and this will result in environmental pollution. So for the sake of the environment, for the sake of livelihood, we should go ahead with this project. I think the item should have been dealt with during the 2013 to 2014 legislative session, but then there wasn't time for us to reach this item, and that's why we are still discussing it today. Now, for the delay, it isn't just about affecting the environment and the livelihood. There is also an impact on the cost as well. In the past, I did raise this issue. In the previous year, we were supposed to have over 40 items, and we're only able to deal with half of them only. Let me use this opportunity to repeat once again that I found it most regrettable, and I hope that we can move more quickly. KK Kwok and then N-Jang. I support this item, but then the DSD was not able to give us satisfactory answers. First of all, if the end users do not connect with the sewerage system, well, we've been told that some subsidies could have been given. I want to know about the non-connection rate in the rural areas. What is the percentage? Please tell us. For households who cannot afford it, in particular the elderly households or financially inadequate households, I want to know how many are still not able to get connected despite the availability of subsidies. Now we're spending $700 million. If at the end of the day, quite a number of households do not connect the system with the public system, then it is meaningless, because it means that we are not able to resolve the problem. Director of Environmental Protection, please switch on the microphone for the AD. For projects that have been completed, we are able to have a connection rate of 80% over Hong Kong. Sometimes there is a lack of space, the gradient, the pumping facilities being too expensive. If we are only talking about 1 or 2 households, then it won't be unreasonably costly. There may be other problems, that there's no way that there will be a connection, or there's a problem of land status, or you have to go pass private property. Now, usually you're expected to be connected, but when it is not possible, we accept that they can continue to use the septic tanks. In other words, still 20%, it is quite a high percentage that go unconnected. Well, you have given us many reasons, but I want to know in how many cases it all boils down to lack of money and you're not subsidizing the connection. AD. Well, I don't think we can give a figure. If it is a case of genuine hardship, we won't force the household to do it. Under the Housing Society, we have a scheme to help the elderly households. There's also another scheme under the Buildings Department, so they can try to apply for some funding to pay for the connection. I don't know how much can be applied for. I want to know whether they are able to seek some help in this way. And also for the Two Moon project, I'm sure you have already paid some site visits. I want to know whether at the end of the day there will still be as many as 20% not being connected. AD. Well, for this project, as to the connection rate, I think the DSD will supplement. Basically, I think members are concerned about the failure to connect with the public sewers, but then we have the support of the district council, so I don't think that would be a factor.
I want to know whether there are funds available under the two schemes to help the owners affected by this exercise. I understand that for the Housing Society scheme, the maximum assistance is $40,000. With regard to connections to the houses, these are not large-scale projects, and I think a few $1,000 up to $10,000 should be enough. So the answer to Mr. K.K. Kwok's question should be yes. All right, Director. Concerning the 7 villages, 72%, in 72% of the cases, connection is possible. For areas which can be sewered, I mean, now, if there is private land between the sewers and the houses, then technically speaking, connection is not possible. But in the 7 villages, I think in 72% of the cases, connection is possible. Ms. N. Chang, Chairman. I want to know how many households can be served by this project, and what about the completion time for this project? Director, thank you. 617 houses will be sewered, and we believe that the project will be completed in 2019. 617 houses, are they all small houses or village houses? I just want to know whether they are all village houses or small houses. Director. There are two parts to this project. First of all, sewage works or sewers for the 7 villages, and there are 617 houses in the 7 villages. And then the remainder of the funding will be used to construct a trunk sewer in Tuen Mun East, especially areas to the east of So Kun Wat. And in Tuen Mun East, not all the houses are small houses. Miss En Chang, thank you. So you need to spend over $700 million for 700 or 617 houses. So in other words, over $1 million per house. Yes, I understand that some of the money will be used to construct the trunk sewer. And is it that the trunk sewer will only cost $160 million? Director? We'll need about $300 million for the villages. So on the average, we need to spend $500,000 on each house. Ms. En Chang, 2 things, Chairman. It's true that we have money in the treasury. And I think there's no harm in getting some money to bring about improvements to environmental hygiene. In fact, there are different needs in different parts of the territory, and Mr. Albert Chan said he would be one of the beneficiaries, and he wanted his house to be connected to the sewers. Now, as you have to spend so much money on the sewers, I think you should make sure that the houses will all be connected to the sewers. As you will be spending such a large amount of money on the sewers, you really might as well spend a bit more to make sure that the connections are done. I think you have to make sure that the houses are connected to the sewers. Because if, say, 300 out of 617 houses are not connected to the sewers, then we will the improvements brought about by the new sewers will be reduced. Chairman, the government is responsible for providing the public sewers, and concerning the final sections for the connections, these are the responsibility of the owners themselves. So we bear the cost of the public sewers, and then house owners do the final connections themselves. This has all along been the division of labor, so to speak. And I talked about a connection rate of 80%, and this is on the basis of this division of labor arrangement. In fact, the villagers will benefit if their houses can be connected to the public sewers. The value of the property will also go up. And the house owners will no longer have to spend money maintaining the septic tanks and the soakaway systems. So this has been the principle that we've been working on. Sorry, the speaker is not coming through. Right, members. I just want to tell you that this meeting will have to be adjourned 6 minutes later. Mr. Michael Tian, Mr. Fernando Zhang, and Mr. Leung Chi Chang. I think we want the necessary data. So the last mile, so to speak, will have to be paid for by the owners themselves. But then we don't know how much each owner will have to pay. We can't make sure that they will connect their houses to the sewers. So I want some data from you. In the past, how many houses were connected to the sewers when new sewers were completed? The director has promised Mr. Albert Chan figures for the past decade. I think you know that there is a village called Kongshan Chun. In 1993 and in 2003, in your review, you felt that they needed not be covered by the public sewerage works. But then the last assessment was done over a decade ago. So what is the latest situation with regard to this village? How many villages are there? And why is it that you haven't included them in the sewage program? In October last year at the Pillar Point sewage treatment works, a worker died because he fell down a drain or a pipe. So have you investigated into the cause of the accident? Was it carelessness on his part or what? Director, the member chairman mentioned Kongshan Chun. I don't have the information with me. Is it that the assistant director can offer some information? Chairman, last year a district representative raised the issue. It's a small village comprising only a few dozen houses, and it's it's in a rather remote location. As you know, there are resource implications for providing public sewers, and this is a small village and is in a rather remote location. Now, because the last assessment or review was in 2003. Did you go there again last year? And I think there should be a detailed review, and please give us the information later. And then the accident at Pillar Point sewage treatment works. Director, Chairman, Mr. Michael Tien mentioned the accident that occurred last year. The police and the Labor Department are still carrying out investigations into the industrial accident. Sorry? So we don't know what the cause of the accident was. And then you'll be constructing new sewers. So do you think that your present safety or precautionary measures are adequate? Any remedial measures? Director? Chairman. In fact, the accident occurred in facilities that were commissioned a long time ago. And this project is about laying new sewers for the collection of sewage. And this project is not directly related to the operation of the sewage treatment works. In fact, after the accident, we instructed the contractor to carry out a detailed inspection. And there were additional safety measures in place. to try to enhance safety. So, Mr. Fernando Zhao and Mr. Leung Chiu-Chen, do you think you can finish within 3 minutes? If you can't, then I'll adjourn the meeting. I've got a question. I would like to refer to Director of Audits Report number 55, Chairman. According to the report, the progress of sewage works is slow and behind schedule, and that's because of a lack of thorough planning on the part of the DSD and other departments in Yuen Long and in North District. There were projects which should have been completed in 05 and 08, covering 306 villages. But in 2010, the Director of Audit discovered that only about 100 villages had been covered. So one of the problems is, as mentioned by Mr. Albert Chan, that even if the sewers are completed, houses may not be connected to the new sewers. I want to know how many houses have been connected to the newly completed sewers, and I want such information. Now we have only less than a minute, and I don't think we can vote on this item, so we'll continue at 9 a.m. on the 28th of February. So when that meeting begins, the director can give an answer to Dr. Fernando Zhang's question. So we've dealt with one item on the agenda today. Chairman, I think the director should also give members the information I have asked for before our next meeting. Yes, Director, please. Please give us the information before the next meeting. So concerning the item approved, do members want any items to be voted on separately? No? All right, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.